Let's take the website that I'm currently paying for and not pay for it anymore. Using the power of artificial intelligence, we're going to code out an entire website from start to finish and have it all completely deployed for free. This series I'm currently doing on this channel can be applied to Cursor AI, can also be applied to Replit. No matter how you are coding this website out, what I can guarantee is that it will be free by the end of it, other than the domain, of course. You'll be able to know how to code. You'll be able to know how to deploy. You'll know everything that's entailed with building out a real website on the internet without paying a hosting provider ever again. Sound good? Let's jump in. If you found yourself on this video, this has been an ongoing series I've been doing for the last couple months. My intention for today is I'm completing this series. So I got some coffee in front of me. I am currently sitting down. Typically in my videos, I stand up, but I'm sitting down. Why are you sitting down, Corbin? Because I'm coding all today. I'm going to record all of this. I'm going to make it like all divvied up into like nice little videos for you. So you can just watch them. Lesson 5, lesson 6, lesson 7, and proceed in that manner. Me personally, though, as I'm sitting here, I'm coding all day. And my way I'm going to structure these videos is going to be very much so big parts of a website. So this video, we did a top fold in the last video, but it's been like a month. So I'm going to create a better top fold, and I have a different vision for this landing page. Right now, I'm paying Webflow around 18 USD a month to host just this. When I say just this is basically nothing. Therefore, I might as well code it out. Now, I'm going to go ahead and approach this in a very specific way of how I want my landing page to work. The way I'm going to present these episodes from here on out is very much so is I'm going to code out an entire section. Then I'm going to walk you through the types of AI prompts and why I chose those AI prompts to get out this certain type of code. In addition, giving you developer insight of good practices when it comes to coding. This involves how to create a branch. What is a branch? Why do we do branches? This involves how to create certain sections within the website that are more intuitive, such as newsletters, such as NCTAs, such as anything. So if you watch this series, by the end of it, you have a pretty full comprehensive idea of front-end development. Now, before I get that comment saying, oh, this is clickbait. You said Cursor AI. You said Replit. Let me let you in on a little secret, y'all. An IDE, which those are, is an integrated development environment. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is in this video, we're going to be using VS Code and ChatGPT separate. That's how I code with AI. Regardless of what you're about to watch right now, you can do the same thing with Cursor. You can do the same thing with Replit, as you're going to learn ways to give dictation to these models, how to structure your prompt to get specific types of code. Now, if you want to still leave that comment, go ahead, as it'll give me free engagement and it'll push this video further. Let's go and proceed. If you just found this episode, I encourage you to check out all the other episodes when it comes to why this is free, setting up your GitHub project, setting up your VS Code project, setting up with custom instructions in ChatGPT. Like, I go over a ton of stuff. As right now, we are in the emulating and development phase where everything's structured, everything's good. We have security set up with our .env. What's a .env, Corbin? Check out the earlier lessons. You'll understand. And just as a side note, .env basically makes it so that high-risk variables found within your code are hidden. E.g., let's say I have a webhook for handling a webhook. In this context is how we send data between software. If I have a webhook in the code, I'm going to want to put that in my env and not actually display the webhook so I can't get abused in that way. Enough talking, though. I'm going to go ahead and put this IDE, VS Code, as its own page. And then I'm going to put my local host right here, this website, this emulator, as its own page as well. So we can get 2 big pages here of how this is going to look. Now, typically when I code and specifically code out software, in this context, in this series, it's very much a website. It's not really software. But the way I like to approach it is let's get the entire shabam out. When I say shabam here, I'm referencing let's just get what this website's supposed to look like as a desktop version. One of these lessons, I'm going to dive into how to make this mobile responsive. But for now, my objective is let's make this look good on desktop. And then there'll be a whole lesson dedicated towards how do we structure this so it looks good on tablet, looks good on your iPhone or your Android, whatever it may be. Now, one last little shout out before we dive into today's lesson, and the lessons I plan on creating today is going to be the school community. Why am I shouting this out? Why are we talking about this? That's because of one of the major elements of this landing page is our ability to provide an email that automatically subscribes the user to our newsletter. This kind of function and this kind of logic is very intuitive in the sense of we're going to be passing data as a webhook. We're going to learn how to secure webhooks. You're going to learn a ton of stuff that can be applied outside of just simply providing an email. And on top of that, I'll make a whole contact page as well because I know a lot of people want to see that as well. But those lessons will be found on the school community. Check it out. If you don't want to see those lessons, that's fine. You'll basically get 90%, 80% of what is possible in front-end development through what is found on YouTube. Let's go to get going here, though. Here's our terminal commands. Here's our cheat sheet that we created in earlier lessons here. Why I'm referencing this is let's go ahead and launch our development environment here so we can see the code in the website or in localhost 3000. this basically. So right now I just kind of canceled my terminal, so this happens, so I can just show you live. Go ahead and open a terminal window here. If you run into issues with terminal when it comes to npm commands not working and anything like that, I encourage you to check out my Cursor AI video. It's 30 minutes long. It shows you how to install from complete scratch. You never coded before, all the relevant dependencies that are needed in this context. For now, though, all I need to put in is going to be npm start. Well, actually, one last thing. We need to go to the underlying directory. This directory is where all this relevant code right here is found within my computer. Therefore, when I do npm start, we are starting the specific code found here, npm start. This is going to launch up our nice little landing page here. Boom. Now I'm going to go ahead and rip this up. I'm ripping it up. I don't like it. It's done. Kaput. I'm going to rip this up, and I'm going to go ahead and start coding here, and I'm going to walk you through how I code. I'm going to walk you through the prompts, everything. Let's burn it. Delete. So when I do that, we get a white page here. Let's proceed. To start off here, I'm going to go ahead and just rename some classes, and I'm going to just show you an error I got off just right off the bat. So right now, we're getting this error, right? What I did is I went ahead and changed my header.js and header.css to top fold. If you don't know what a top fold is, this is basically, let me show you real quick. A top fold in this context is what you see initially when you load into a website page. So for Cursor AI, we see this nav bar. We see like this little section right here for download, watch demo 1 minute, and then like a video right here. That's their top fold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to encompass all those elements into one class, and we're going to call it top fold. The first thing you'll notice is that when you rename elements, so I renamed the CSS here, renamed the file here, and the export here, as long as the file's over there, I get an error here. So let me go ahead and explain to you how to read errors like this. First thing you'll notice is that it's going to give you in categorization where this error is found. Source, views, homepage.js. Source, views, homepage.js. Coming over to homepage.js, it then says can't resolve header.js, and then it gives the directory again. So what can it resolve? It can't resolve header.js. What is header.js? Coming up here, you'll notice is that this is what it's referencing, the header. This is what we're importing from topfold now. Therefore, what it's basically incurring here is that we renamed it from header to topfold. So I'm going to Command C this, Control C. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste this instead because we're importing topfold instead of header now. Command save, no issue. That's how you should kind of walk through errors. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drink some coffee, play some Swedish House Mafia on SoundCloud, crazy mix. And my intention is that for this topfold is I'm going to replicate what Cursor AI's topfold looks like. Why? Because I think it looks sexy. This looks cool. I like it. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to show you how to take it. So first, let me go ahead and do the heavy lifting here of coding it all out. And then what I'm going to do with you is we're going to walk through step by step of why I did what I did, how I did what I did, and how you can do the same thing for any type of website. Sound good? I'll see you in like 10 to 30 minutes. Actually, before I do that, let me show you some good practice here. We're going to create a new branch that is dedicated for this new addition to our website. Opening up a terminal window here, let's go to our directory found on our cheat sheet. And the first thing we need to do in order for us to create a new branch, and what branches are is different versions of the code. This will make more sense. Let me just show you, is we need to make sure that little asterisk right there, which indicates that something new has happened, is completely cleared out. Basically, in this context, we want to make sure that the main branch is most up to date. And this has to do with the fact that, we changed it from topfold, from header to topfold. So now it's called topfold.js and CSS. Let's proceed. To do this, and I suggest you add this to your cheat sheet, at least in the beginning, so remember how to do it. We're going to first off, let's just make sure we're in the right branch. We'll say git branch. Okay, we're in main. We're going to do git add, git commit, -m, and then name it to whatever's relevant about this commit. What has changed from the last time you saved? So in this context, we renamed it to topfold.js. We're going to say topfold renaming. And then we'll add a quotation mark here, hit enter. We're going to git push origin, and then we're going to say the branch name. So in this context, it's main. Git push origin main, hit enter. And then what you'll notice is if I come over to GitHub, I reload this, our most recent push is topfold renaming. So far, so good. Now, let's do some good practice here. And this is very powerful. This is extremely powerful. This is going to basically make it so that this is going to set you apart. This is going to make it so that you can actually structure scalable applications here. We need to make a branch. So we're going to do git checkout -b, creating a new branch. We'll say, for now, I'm going to show you a delete one as well. So let me just do that real quick. So we'll say apples, right? So this is what the branch name is. Okay, so I do git branch again. Now we got, whoopsie, Control C to get out of that. Git branch. So we have apples and we're main, and right now we are in apples. Now, just to show you real quick what that looks like on this end here, it's not going to show yet because we needed to commit something. So for example, let's just say, come up here, I just add some S's here, and then I come back over to here, and you notice how it's an asterisk now, it's different. So we can go ahead and say same commands here. I can hit up on my arrow keys. I'm going to do git add, up on arrow keys, commit, and then git push origin. But this is not going to be to main. This is going to be to apples. Hit that, and then what you'll notice is that this is going to create a PR request, which we'll get into, and we'll explain what even is a PR request. For now, though, I'm going to delete this. So let me show you how to delete a branch. Let's say we're like, oh, we messed up big time. This is no good. We shouldn't be here right now. I just completely messed up. We can do git branch, git checkout. Checkout's how you move between branches. Git checkout main. So now that I'm in git checkout main, this isn't going to have those S's. Look at no S's here, right? This is going to be, like the stable branch. This is where we want to keep stable here. What we can do here is be like, I messed up big time with those apples. How about them apples? I can do git branch dash D, capital D, and then the branch name. Hit that, and this no longer exists locally on your machine. So hit git branch again, only main. So earlier that deleted it locally, but we already pushed it to the cloud. So in order to get out of this situation, we can simply, let me went a little faster. We can simply come over to branches here, click it, and then what you'll notice is that right here next to my face, there's a little garbage. Delete, and we're good to go. Command R, reload, Control R, and there we go. That's how you successfully create a new branch, delete a new branch, and commit a new branch. If you're still not clear on what branches are, check out those earlier tutorials where I give you ChatGPT chats to help you out on that specific terminology. Also, the more you do, the more you learn. With all that though, let's create a new branch here. And the purpose of this branch is going to be for today's video, which is going to be git branch dash B. Write this in your cheat sheet. And we're going to say top fold new. Messed up there. Git checkout B. Try again. Git checkout B. Then we'll do top fold new. Hit enter, and we are in our new branch. Okay. We're going to do everything we need to do in top fold new. In addition, by the end of this video, you'll understand how to handle a pull request. You'll understand the implications of pull requests, and you'll even understand how to merge a pull request into our main branch, which in the context of development, that's going to be your stable branch. This is the branch that you don't want to touch. Anytime you want to make a change to your code, you rarely ever want to actually code within the main branch. Got it? Let me code it out. This is how far I've gotten so far. Let me show you how I use artificial intelligence to help me start mimicking what we saw of Cursor AI in our own code. Just for context, this is a good amount of chat. As you'll see in this little sidebar here, there's a lot of chat going back and forth with ChatGPT to get exactly what you want when it comes to coding. So my plan is I'm going to go and give you some pointers of ways to talk to ChatGPT in this context so you don't get lost, you restart, proceed. To start off here, make sure you have custom instructions enabled. We did this in lesson 2. You can check it out, how to make custom instructions specific to your version of the software or website you're creating. Make sure to have that enabled. Once you have that enabled, this is how you typically start chats. I like to start with one sentence, very simple, give context. Okay, we are creating the top fold of our website, ready to see what we want. Next, what I'll do is I'll feed the relevant code I have so far up to the point of that development. So in this context, I'm going to provide the JS and CSS files. So this is going to be the CSS file here, the JS file there. At this point in the chat, it was very small, obviously, right? So we just had like a very small JS file, and then we had basically nothing for the CSS. And then notice how I end this. I provide the code, then I say ready to see what we want it to look like. Exactly. There's going to be instances in this chat where I repeatedly ask it to either say, just say yes, or just do this. Like you have to kind of guide ChatGPT so it doesn't go on rants. Because one thing with AI and coding is sometimes it can go on rants. So these are ways to circumnavigate that. When I say rants, I'm talking about like you're giving out code I didn't ask for. So now that it knows the structuring, it knows my code, it'll then ask basically, okay, yeah, cool. What do you want it to look like? So in this context, I literally screenshotted Cursor AI's landing page. Screenshot. That's it. And I say, give me all the code for everything, JS and CSS. Now, what will happen in this context is that it will give you code, but it's not going to be perfect, obviously. It's going to like get you in the right direction, but from what you see here, we got the relevant J6 code, and we got the relevant CSS code. First major issue of this code, and this is something that you may not be able to notice or recognize if you're pretty new to coding, is notice how it's giving very general CSS. This is no good because of the fact of how we're treating this element within our code. This kind of code, like very general code, how do I know if it's general, Corbin? If it has like body or asterisks, it isn't like a class name like dot top fold container, that's how you know it's general. You want to delete this code. That kind of code is the kind of code we give with the parent component. Now, the parent component in this context, or what we call the parent component, is the one that's going to be the overarching global, like how does this look visually? So what you'll notice is that I'm importing the code for the top fold here, which is this code right here. I'm importing this in our homepage.js just as a component. This is the child. This child is then going to be manipulated by the CSS of the overarching div found in this element. Now that is where we're going to put our major type of structuring in the underlying web page. So if I come over to the CSS here, this is like big structuring. Notice how it's like max width 12,000 or 1,200. In this context, if I put like max width 100, it's going to affect every single imported child in this component. Max width 100 px would lead to something like this. It affects everything. Let's go back to 1,200. I'm opting for 1,200 rather than like percents, like 50% of the component size, because of the fact that that is what Cursor AI is doing in the way they're structuring their code. What you'll notice is that there's a lot of empty space between the left and right, and this has to do with the fact of just mobile optimization and responsiveness on the screen, which we'll get into in later tutorials here, but for now, so far so good. With this, what you want to do is simply copy and paste the relevant CSS code and the relevant JSX code over to its relevant files. Once you do that, you'll obviously visually see it within your development environment and start getting an idea of what direction or how to proctor ChatGPT from that point. And as good measure here, so that in future outputs, at least within this chat, I don't repeatedly get a general CSS like we saw with body and the asterisks. I simply will put don't need, paste that code. We'll apply this elsewhere when we're ready for what's next. Now, let me show you an example of if you mess up with a code input. Now, typically what you can do is come back here to the pencil, select that, and then readjust the way you're phrasing it to get a better output. And you'll know if it's a bad output if you paste the code over and you're just like, whoa, what just happened? And typically you just scroll back up and copy and paste over, the better looking code. But let's say you import another image here and you get a bad output. These type of inputs on ChatGPT, you can't actually adjust again or change again. Therefore, let me show you how to get around this. My objective with this one was to simply add a round rectangle, make the corners round, add some separation, essentially make it look more like this situation. So what I did here was I was providing blocks of code and asking for specific elements to output. But what happened was the code was just no good. This was no good. This code was horrible. And I couldn't go back to readjust the prompt. So what I did was this. I simply did this. This is a great way. So either you can start a new chat, but that can take a little time, or alternatively, just do what I do. Okay, take a step back. I paste over the code I like, the JS again, the CSS again. So whatever the code you really like, paste it again. So it can just take a step back and not go down a rabbit hole of bad code. And then I end with the sentence, ready to see what I want. What this does for us is this resets ChatGPT to be like, oh, okay. Whatever I just outputted previously was no good. I'm going to refer back to the code that was just provided here. Understanding that, the process here is, as you saw in lesson 4, is very much copy and paste over, maybe make little changes here and there once you understand more of how to work a CSS element. But for now, early stages is very much copy and paste over. A little bit of talking, paste it. Does it look good? Doesn't look good? Readjust. So then coming down here, what you'll notice is that you can actually get pretty intuitive with your images here. So one issue I was having is the ability to separate between the header section and the navbar section, e.g. what's occurring here. Notice with the image I provide, which you can basically use any type of image editor, whether Windows or Mac, and just draw a line. Notice how I draw that little red line here to identify the exact issue I was having. It's smart, y'all. It can actually see that and it can actually understand what you're saying. And basically what I asked for here is I need a gap between the navbar and the hero section. Why did I call it the navbar and hero section? That's because the way that it outputted the code, it understands that this section right here is the navbar. This is like a comment. And then coming down here, it understands that this is the hero section, especially with all the CSS elements called it as well. So when conversating with ChatGPT, make sure to reference these specific ways it's already calling it within the code. It's going to make it so that it understands exactly what you're talking about. And you can take it one step further here and actually draw on images to get the output you're looking for, which leaves us to where we are right here. Not bad so far, right? This is actually pretty good considering this only took me around 20 minutes to do, and we are getting going here. So my plan, obviously, is I'm not going to keep the same copy. I'm going to start changing the copy here to reflect more of what Web Cafe is and my website. On top of that, there is going to be some element features here that I switch up with the buttons. I'm going to show you real quickly how to embed a YouTube video. Or actually, alternatively, I'll show you how to embed a YouTube video. But in reality, I could have this so we could store it in our database. But I'll do a YouTube video, as sometimes that's just good for exposure and getting more views on your underlying video if you have a video element within your website. On top of that, I plan on changing this nav bar a little bit. But you can see the potential here. We're getting pretty far here. And before I dive into that and start jumping into that, one last thing I want to leave you with is understanding how to conversate in the context of a child-parent relationship. So if we come back to our homepage.js here, we obviously know this is the child here, and then like the ultimate parent, the grandparent, it's going to be the app.js. This is how it's rendered. So we actually have the homepage being imported here. But the actual situation here with the homepage.js is, this is all the elements that we found within our homepage. What you want to do here is what I did here. This element is imported here. So I reference that this entire element we've been working on, the top fold, is imported into this class here. And then I give the CSS for the underlying homepage, right? So that's the cafe homepage, as we know right here. Now, if you're having a situation here where you're like, this doesn't look good, it's left aligned, what's going on? Notice how I just simply ask how to make width smaller and center all the elements. And it provided me the correct code here. Now, to be fair, it provided me 50% here, which what this does is that depending on whether you're on an iPhone, tablet, computer, it will be 50% of the screen. This is good. Some context, but when you're dealing with like global CS classes, like I call them here, you want to do much more of a hard fix. So I'm going to do 1200 px as our max width in this context. This will change when we do our responsiveness lesson later in this series. Let me go ahead and change the copy here, some structuring, give you some more insight. Went ahead and updated the copy here. So right off the bat, this is more tailored to what Web Cafe AI is. Went ahead and did our slogan here, automate everything. Then we got our nice little disclaimer of getting more context of what Web Cafe AI does up to this point. Furthermore, what you'll notice is that we've actually taken that button, made it into one button here, and we're using a nice little play icon here. Let me show you where I get that. Go ahead and type in Google Font Awesome. What Font Awesome is going to allow us to do is use icons within our website or software that just look good. So for example, I typed in play here, and what you want to do is select free. With free selected, you can use any of these in your software or website for free. Simply click one and proceed. Everything is looking pretty good. The way I'm going to go ahead and proceed from here is that when I click this is going to create a pop-up YouTube video. I'm going to link it. I'm going to show you how to link it. And on top of that, when I click these two, these are going to be two separate external links. What's going to be very specific about those external links is that it's going to open a new tab within our browser. Content catalog is going to bring them to the YouTube channel. Take this website is going to take them to the very specific playlist that you're watching right now that I'm currently building out this website with. Let's walk through some more ChatGPT chats so you can learn some more skills when talking to AI in the context of coding. One of the major things that you might have noticed that has gone from the nav bar now was the little sections to click to different parts of the website. The reason I personally got rid of it is because the fact that this is a landing page. I'm only going to have one page here. I don't need multiple sections. In theory, I could have kept it there, and if you click it, it brings you to that certain part of the page. But my intentions with this landing page is to make it as small as possible, but it has the most value as possible. So from here, I simply asked ChatGPT to get rid of it. Now, in theory, I could just remove it myself in the code, but if you're not very comfortable with the div yet, what you can do is simply copy over the code that you think is relevant to the code you want to get rid of, and then just ask for it to remove it. Okay, actually just remove the code entirely, and then it'll give you the updated code here. Here's a quick tip when it comes to structuring. If you come over to an element, and you don't necessarily know where it stops or ends or closes, you can simply highlight it like this, and you'll see it will close here. Or alternatively, select this, and you'll see it closes here. This is important as any div element within a div is going to be affected by its outer bracket. So everything within hero section, such as hero title, hero subtitle, if I put hero section is width 50%, everything within here is going to be 50% width. That's the idea. And then, of course, you're going to have your overall div here. So if I select this one right here, come all the way to the top, the overall one is going to be the top fold container. That is why within CSS, the top fold container is going to have very general type of CSS directions, such as display flex, flex direction column, everything above the board there. In addition to helping with coding, it can also help you with copy or how you want to phrase things within your web page. So for example here, I originally had holding company, AI SaaS investor, WebCafe AI. I didn't really like how it flowed. So I gave the cursor subtitle as an example, but then gave more context of what I want to show in this underlying subtitle. And based off this, it gave me a very long sentence, which I didn't like either. So I simply just said, make it shorter and make it sound more like what we saw with cursor. Shorter and sound more like, and then the cursor example. If you don't know what I'm referencing this subtitle. Then it gave me a subtitle I could work with. And from there, was able to put it out. So let's go ahead and wrap up our top fold here. I'm going to show you 3 major things. First major thing is that how to do external links correctly. Second thing is how to embed videos based off a click. So it's a little pop-up. And then finally, all this working in motion. Sound good? Let's do it. Welcome back. We went ahead and added everything we needed to add. So now, when you use this website, a couple things. On hover, we have a nice little hover effect. We'll make the buttons slightly larger. Add a little opacity as well. So notice how it gets a little bit more bold in your face when you hover over. Did that. When a user clicks on it, it's going to open a new tab. So for example, a content catalog will be the YouTube channel. And the Take This website will be the entire playlist that you're currently watching. In addition to this, we went ahead and added this little section here. So the user will see a nice little like highlight. And then when they click it, will automatically play a video that I grabbed from YouTube. This in theory could have been a video that I stored in my Fire store, or alternatively the storage within Firebeast. But for now, I'm just going to use the YouTube video as this is pretty simple to implement. And then what you'll notice is that obviously the user could watch this, or alternatively, if they want to leave it, they can simply click anywhere outside of the video and it goes away. Let's go ahead and break that down with ChatGPT, but also how it looks in the code. So first, let's go over the new tabs being open. First off, I started a new chat for these next 2 editions here. When you start going a little bit further into a chat, it sometimes can give bad outputs. So I typically like starting a new chat. To do so, I simply put in, okay, we're working on the top fold of the website today. I provided the entire JS file and the entire CSS file. Just paste and paste. Once I did that, ChatGPT just started spewing random stuff. I typically just stop ChatGPT in its tracks by clicking this on an output just because like I'm not trying to do that right now. Let's do something else. To add the hover effects, it's really easy. So all you have to do is simply do, okay, first let's add some hover effects. You'll provide the relevant buttons. So for me, it was these 2 buttons right here. Notice how I simply just pasted the buttons over. And then I provided the relevant CSS. So as you know, or maybe not know, define whatever the button CSS is correlated with. You can simply come over to your button here and notice how it says content catalog button, Command F, Control F. Go to your CSS here. And that's it. That's the CSS correlation right there. With this, though, I simply asked for a hover effect, and it went ahead and gave it to me. I did some slight changes here. So what the hover effect is, though, in this context, is simply adding the original CSS class name and adding hover. So coming over here, you'll notice that we have the original CSS class name, and then what do you want it to do on hover? So for me, I wanted to get the opacity slightly higher. So, it's slightly phased out to completely in your face. And then the scale, that's what causes like the slight enlargement, is 1.02. Just to give you an idea of what this can do, if I did 2, it's going to be twice the scale. Or, boom, we don't want that. So I'm going to keep this at 1.02, but you successfully learned how to do a hover element within CSS and how to talk to ChatGPT in that context. Now, the next piece of logic that we added, which is major, is the ability to open a new link in a tab. So notice how it references this specific function here, which is window open blank, no opener, no referer. This is going to be the logic we use when we open new tabs in the browser. It references it and it uses it twice for these specific links. The reason we're doing it like once here and then twice here is so we don't have to repeat this logic and this code twice here, right? So we can just reference the actual function itself for either one of these URLs. In order to get that within ChatGPT, it's pretty simple. What I typically like doing is that go ahead and paste your entire file that's relevant. So for this context, it was the top fold. When I say paste the entire file, you could quite literally paste the entire thing, or alternatively, come over to this little gold bracket right here and just slide all the way up here and copy up to the top const. Paste that over as you're about to do a big logic change. With this new logic change, I put it simple. I said, for this specific button, take me to this specific link in a new tab. For this specific button, take me to this specific link in a new tab. Notice how it's very much like just be as specific as possible with your actions. And with this, it gave me the relevant code that I cared about. And on top of that, the relevant code that's going to allow it to open on a new tab. This is a very simple copy paste over. One thing to keep in mind with these copy and pasting over is that notice your imports. Sometimes with ChatGPT outputs, it won't give you all these imports. Therefore, when you paste over, you're going to get a ton of errors. You're like, Corbin, you messed them up. What happened? That's just because it went ahead and you overcopied on your import. Make sure you always have your imports at the top. There you go. So we've successfully learned how to open up a new link with a new tab, and we're good to go. Make sure you leave a like if you found value so far. Now let's go to learn a more complex element of this page, which is the ability to click a button, have a popover effect, and on top of that, play a YouTube video automatically. Hello. This is bump ups. The best way to... Therefore, let me show you the exact dictation I used when talking to ChatGPT. So coming down here, if I go to the button that I care about, which was this button is the active investment button. This is the one that shows the little play icon. This is this button. What I did was I simply obviously hovered over it, found out where the button closes, which you'll see is right here, copied this over, Command C, and then pasted it right here. And I say, when I click, provide the button code, can we have a pop-up open and play this video? And then provided the video link. That's it. And this starts taking you in the right direction. So the first thing it wanted me to do was create a module component. The way I want you to think of this is that within your actual website, you're going to have a new folder here. It's going to be called components. Think of components as like little parts of your website. Now, not necessarily like a whole section like a footer, but more of like you gone to a website and sometimes you get that little pop-up saying, do you accept the cookies? Do you? That little pop-up of cookies could be a cookies component, right? We have a whole JS and CSS file dedicated towards the cookies pop-up. This context is for the video pop-up. We have a whole component that will import from here to here so we can do some logic in showing it or not showing it. If that sounded confusing, don't worry, because when I asked ChatGPT to do it for me, it gave me that answer. So first off, it gave me the video module component, or the JS. And if you're ever wondering of whether or not this is going to be the original file that you just pasted over or a new file, it's just whatever is the const and then the name right there. So as you'll notice, it says video module here. It does not say const top fold. That tells me this is a whole new JS file. With this though, I simply went over here, right-clicked on source, I hit new folder, created a folder called components, as we'll create more components later on, and then basically put the two files here, the JS and the CSS. This was the JS file, and if you want to know what a JS file looks like, typically it has the imports, it has the return, has the export default. And then it gave me the CSS. So I went ahead and created both files, pasted both of this code over, and then finally, what's really cool, because it has context, it's able to give me the final top fold file as well. So notice it gave me the entire top fold file on top of that. And it went ahead and found it right here. And I pasted that over. Now, with this kind of logic, the first error you're going to run into is that it's not going to know where to import video module from. So you're going to get an error saying like it can't find it. Don't worry. This is how you solve for that. First off, this is like a hierarchy in the sense of where the actual file is found. So notice how video module, which is video module JS right here, is found within the components folder. Therefore, one before that should be called components. The other very important thing that you need to add here, as it won't be relevant if you don't do this, is that notice with topfold.css, it's one period. That's because of the fact that they are both found within the same folder. They're just nestled together. Alternatively, this is found within a different folder that we're referencing, the components folder. Therefore, we need to add this second period there in order to identify that this is coming from somewhere else in our directory. Just to show you, if I do this, I'm going to get an error here like, where is it found? What's going on? Therefore, just know when you're importing from separate folders that aren't in the original folder, so this folder we're calling views, add that second period there, and then when I hit save, we're good to go. Now that we understand that, we can actually reference video module. So coming down here, you'll notice it right there. So this has a little bit of Boolean logic that you have to worry about, but for now, up to this point, if you copy paste over, and then import it correctly, you'll be good to go and everything will work. So within the JS itself, though, if you have issues with the specific way that the module looks, then you just edit it here, or the pop-up. So for example, when I originally created this logic, the video wouldn't automatically play. It would just have a play button, like it would just show. And I simply just said, okay, cool. Can we actually have the video automatically play? And it was able to give me the exact code I needed. Went in and copied that and pasted it over here, and it worked. Keep scrolling down. Okay, cool. Can we remove the close button, and can we only have it closed when you click outside the pop-up? Proceeded to give me the code. So that's the flow. That's the process. Paste over, paste over. Oh, something messed up badly. Okay, revert back to the original code. Like, keep going in this logic. Because up to this point, I've successfully created a top fold that I am satisfied with. We got 3 buttons that work. We got whatever my active investment is going to be a video that plays right there. Therefore, let's go to push this commit. Let's make a PR request and understand the logic that's entailed with that. So coming back to terminal, we'll say git branch. Always make sure you're in your directory. That's whatever you called your project. From here, I'm going to say git add, git commit, solid top fold. We're going to do git push origin, and then whatever our branch name is. So if you don't know what it is, I always suggest you do git branch so you can kind of see it here. You can copy right here. Also, you'll notice it's right here when you do certain commits. So I'm going to do this. enter. Boom. Cleared up. Good to go. Come in over to our GitHub here. We push this branch to the cloud. So I'm going to do compare and pull request. You can add another title here for reference. So I'll just say completed top fold for future reference. I can say create pull request. So now we have an active pull request occurring here. This is basically like, hey, I want to merge this to the main. Does everything look good? And for you to confirm if everything looks good here, you can go to files changed. Within files changed here, you can just basically see what the heck happened. So I was going to notice here, if I come down here, we added a PNG of these two different files here. We added a new component folder. That's why there's a little plus sign here and all this code. If I go to top fold, I noticed that like, oh, so we added all this code right here. Okay, so we removed header, but now we're naming it top. Like, this is like your way to going through to make sure nothing changed that you aren't expecting. Once you're satisfied, though, I can come back into this PR request here, and I hit merge pull request. Then I simply say confirm merge. So now that we've successfully merged this to main, I can go ahead and delete this branch. I don't need it anymore. Delete branch. Coming back over to main, notice how the most recent commit was from that merge. So what this means is that we still currently have top fold new branch locally in our machine. So if I hit get branch, we're still here. So in theory, I could keep it here. I have some like old branches of some of the software I've developed that I just keep on my local and I don't have it in the cloud. Up to your preference. Alternatively, what I suggest you to do is do git checkout main. Let's go back to the main branch here. Let's go to the stable one. Once we're here, do git pull origin main. Put this in your cheat sheet. This is going to find the most recent up-to-date code that we have in the cloud. And it has updated, right? Because we merged the previous branch. All that code we just changed there, we merged with main. Doing this command here, you'll notice some plus and some minus. There we go. We have the most recent main branch now. Now notice within main, the existence of video modules here, the existence of the renaming of top folders here. All this relevant code is here in main now. Pretty good. So now that our main is good and is ready for our next video or our next lesson here, we can get rid of top fold new in local if we choose to do so. I'm going to do that. Git branch D, capital D, copy the name, and it's deleted. We're good. Back to main. I'll create a new branch for the next lesson. That completes lesson 5 here. Make sure to leave a like if you found value in today's video. It's completely free. I am going to try to wrap up this series within the next couple days here. So I'm hitting this thing head on. So expect some big videos from me. If you, of course, want to see more comprehensive videos on this topic, for example, me setting up a newsletter CTA, the ability for a user to put in an email and then automatically subscribe to whatever newsletter provider you have, make sure to check out my school community. But without further ado, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we are almost done with the website. We got our top fold. We got to add a little bit more. We'll be good to go. Those are random videos. That's my face. And I'll see you in the next video.